Morning. It's Monday, the 9th of March. And I saw something this morning which gave me a little bit of positivity. And I thought, well, why not sit here, do a video on Monday motivation and really talk a little bit about why I do what I do, which is the coaching. And the principal reason that I do what I do is because I love seeing people improve. I love seeing people satisfy their dreams. I love helping people to get what they want. So usually when people come to me, they're very, very aware of who they are and they've got pretty much all the responses they want in their interview sorted. What they don't have is that organization. Sometimes they come and they don't really know what it is they want to put together. So we've got to spend a little bit of time digging in a little bit deeper and trying to get to the real nub of who they are. And that's something that happened this weekend. That I had a guy come to me on Friday. He's got an interview on Tuesday, and we were doing the usual getting to know you. I'm trying to find a little bit about his background. I'm running through his CV. We're just talking in general. And I picked up on something that it was an area that he recognized was possibly one of his strengths, possibly something he could use as a strength. But it became that path of almost every decision, every job that he had undertaken was down to this one characteristic. And once he realized that, he really couldn't believe that looking at himself, it was just that simple. That one aspect was the driving force for him for almost all his decisions in work and quite probably throughout life. Now he's going into the interview on Tuesday with absolute confidence that whatever happens, he's got this one aspect that's the backbone of his interview strategy. What's his strength? You can look at this. What's his weakness? Areas that are not involved in this. An area, a time that he achieved something, that's down to this particular characteristic. It doesn't really matter what the the question's going to be. It's very, very simply going to revolve around this single characteristic. And he went away from Friday session scratching his head a little bit, not really sure that I've come along, something that he believed in for, I don't know, most of his life, has suddenly been changed. That within one 50-minute session, we'd been able to find exactly what it was that motivated him, exactly what it was that drove him, exactly what it was that was his passion. Simple as that. That's it. He didn't do anything pretty much without this motivating him. And he came back on Saturday morning session bouncing. He was happy as anything that, yeah, he understood. And that's one of the things that I really, really love about this is being able to connect with people, talking with people, digging into people's backgrounds and helping them succeed. And throughout teaching life, I've got example after example of people that I've helped and worked. I've got most recently, I've got two candidates who went through interviews, and Akib, or should I say PC Akib, who was incredibly grateful because of the way that we're giving him the confidence to work through his interview. And he had put a great deal of importance on becoming a police officer. And in a police force which was very, very famous for forcing applicants to go through 2, 3, or 4 applications, not interviews, 3 or 4 applications, just to demonstrate that they had the motivation and the drive that they wanted to be in the police force. He nailed it in the first interview. Alban, childhood dream was to be a pilot. Had an interview, got the job, is now a commercial pilot. in his thanks, in his praise, in his feedback to me, he said he couldn't have done it without the coaching sessions. This is something that gives me an absolute buzz, sitting knowing that these guys have moved on. They've achieved their dreams. And for me, it's just a joy to see these improvements. And I think if I look back through life, that my best bosses were the ones who coached, were the ones who mentored. That one of my first sales jobs was in the ventilation industry. One of my first sales jobs, I can remember getting the keys to the company car, and the managing director came downstairs and was talking to me about various things, and he said, "Oh, before you go, is there anything else that you need?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Anything else you need? You've got your fax machine, you've got your mobile phone, pens, paper, blah, blah, blah." Yes, fax machine, it was that long ago. And I said, "No, I think I've got everything." He said, "Okay, what I don't want is you coming back to me to say that you lost a sale because you didn't have a piece of equipment." This is a guy who said, you whatever it is that you want. There were no restrictions, there were no company guidelines, there was no methodology. It was whatever your style is, however you work, you can get the tools to make your job easier. That what I want you to focus on is driving sales. And by way of thanks, I turned an area that was bouncing along the bottom of the graph at about £30,000 a year and turned it into a thriving area when I left the company valued at £270,000 a year. And that was all done in about 18 months. Another boss I had was, again, this style of mentorship that people were allowed to develop, that he gave himself selflessly to watch other people achieve promotions. And he was a branch manager, and he would train people to come up from the lower ranks to branch management, to area management. He didn't have an ego where he felt threatened because somebody was getting promoted above his position. That he believed, and it's something I think I've learned, and it's something that I believe, is that it's not about the thanks. It genuinely isn't about the thanks. It isn't about the appreciation. It's seeing people succeed. This is the area that I find it quite difficult. It's genuinely watching people succeed, and when the thanks come through, that's kind of nice. But generally, there's something I always say to candidates when they succeed, when they get the job, and they come back to thank me. I always say something to them which generally makes them stop. And of course, you're going to have to come onto the course to find out what that is. But I always say something to which they find a little bit surprising. But for me, it's genuine. It's absolutely genuine. When I say it is something that's come from the heart. But going back to the previous manager, he was more than happy to see people succeed, to see people become his boss, because he knew that it really would take a very special person to betray him. That he wanted the company to succeed. He wanted people to succeed. Okay, he didn't do it for selfish reasons. But equally, he had the confidence to say that if you are my boss, then you're kind of unlikely to treat me badly. Hopefully you remember the work that he's put in. And that was something I watched him work with people, and he worked with me and developed me and took me through the ranks of sales. And this is before the previous MD that I told you about. So he took me from a van driver to area sales, from area sales to a new branch, to help develop and grow that new branch. Unfortunately, the boss of the new branch wasn't of the same mould and was of the area of manager that I really have no time for, and that was the micromanager, the autocratic, my way or the highway. And yeah, that's just reminded me. There's my way or the highway. Talking about bad bosses, no names mentioned, but if ever you've said that as a manager, my way or the highway, you're not a good manager. Simple as that. If your manager ever says to you, my way or the highway, you're in the wrong job. Get out. Give me a call. So yeah, Monday motivation. It's a question that if I'm getting feedback like that, if I'm getting responses like that, then hell, Mondays aren't a problem. Mondays are an absolute joy. And what I'm going to do is start introducing um, something which is so good that I can't even remember what it's called, a money back guarantee. I'm going to look at offering a money back guarantee. So anyone that comes onto a interview coaching course, doesn't matter what the course is, what the duration is, if you don't feel confident, if you don't feel more confident going into your job interview by the time we've finished, then you get your money back. Okay. I can't guarantee that you get the job, but I can guarantee that you go in there more confident. So it's as simple as that. Go through to think180.co.uk, have a look, book your trial session, book a full course, send me an email, get in touch, see what I can do for you. And yeah, if you're not more confident by the time we've finished, if we haven't found that key to make you much more confident going into that interview, money back, not a problem. I look forward to speaking soon and have a great Monday. Bye bye.